I'm Sebastian Denef. I work with Fraunhofer Research and also a startup, which I will tell you a little more later. It's called Uberblik. And so I'm in a two-role position, on the one side as a researcher, on the other side as an entrepreneur. So our first project, or it's actually a series of projects, was really about helping firefighters to navigate in burning buildings. We were trying to build new IT for Paris firefighters. And so the idea was from the very beginning to design IT which you can not only use for one purpose, but multiple purposes. And what we did and where we learned the most, I have to say, is we had one commander in Paris and he said, if you want to build technology for us, you have to go into fire. That was my big entrance into the security field. And so we were crawling on the floor in a burning environment, protected by firefighters, but still scared. And then when we came out, we completely canceled all our plans for what we wanted to build. And we said, this won't work. So we built a new idea, a system called Landmarke. And we were building little wedges for firefighters, put little computers inside. And so when the firefighters would walk through the building or crawl through the building, they can place these to keep doors open, and they emit light. So on the way back, you can find easier a way to go out. Our second big project that we worked on was on understanding how police organizations all over Europe change with new IT. How do they adapt it and how does it change their work? And that's the Composite project. It's called, Composite stands for Comparative Police Studies in the EU. There were several topics coming up, like the integration of IT systems, police getting more mobile with smartphones and tablet computers and stuff. And one topic that was actually, for us in the study, was a rather small topic, was the thing of social media. Some used social media, some didn't use social media. But regardless of whether they did or not, the public was always using it. And they were discussing police-relevant topics. How can you use social media to fight rumors? How can you use social media to have a human face to the public, you know? For the first time, the police can talk to anybody, you know, because they can, on social media, they can send positive news and people will respond to that. They can say, hey, we just got a new office and this is our new police dog. And people will like that. You know, before they hadn't had a chance to talk about that. So that's interesting. That also police officers say that. They say, oh, for the first time we have contact to people who don't have a problem. And that's good for them too, you know, because if you always are facing the problematic parts of society, it distorts your view too, you know. The question was always, what's the role of the police? And if you have a very restrictive police, a police where the key idea or main theme of the police is to catch criminals, then this police might not be so interested in using social media that way. And they might also face a lot of criticism in this field where the public suddenly has a very strong voice. The technological side in this field is not the issue. You know, it's not the problem of building more advanced technology. I mean, like, of course it's not easy, but it's not the most crucial part. The most crucial part is how does it fit with the understanding of the organizations and the societies. It's basically a visual board that we give to teams of people, and they can bring together different contents and build like a visual overview. Our interest is also not only in keeping information contained within one organization, but solving the problem of sharing information across organizations. In case of the police, you have a larger event, something happening, and then you will need maybe to interact with a citizen, to interact with a firefighter, to interact with a person from the city hall. Much of the stuff that you are used to is in the cloud and is not sitting in some servers where nobody really has control, so they are not allowed for a regular organization. If you think you're an organization, you cannot use Google Docs, you cannot use Dropbox, you cannot use WhatsApp, you cannot use General Messenger that you have on your phone, then what are you going to use? officers are in a big dilemma. They have private IT, which is so much more capable than business IT. I think that we have existing organizations that deal with security by profession. I think they will remain relevant, and they, like the police has a very unique position in society. But we have newcomers to this field. So in a way, society will play and can play a much more active role now than it used to be. So I think that it's basically everybody who can have and will have a say in that. And I think as citizens, we need to become aware of that. Typically when somebody's missing, right, what can you do or what could you do 20 years ago as a citizen? You would go to the police and say somebody's missing and maybe tell a few friends. Now you have the ability as a citizen to do something which maybe your police force even can't do. Reach thousands of people and do something. All these new technologies enables citizens to do stuff which before only professionals could do. So I think that in the long run, in this field, the most interesting piece is actually how the power dynamics go and what this shift means and how these existing organizations deal with this new capability of the people. I think that the threats that we actually have are really not the ones that you might think of in the first place, or that like the everyday person might think of terrorist attacks or something, right? When you talk to people who are in this field, they're afraid more of the income gap, of social structures that change, of aging societies. These kind of larger trends, they really impact what they do, right? Then you will have more crime and it will be very hard to fight. So it's not these very specific kind of threats that you might think of in the first place. If you look into the organizations, if you go to these conferences, you typically meet a certain type of people, typically male, a little bit more on the conservative side. It should be more diverse. The people who organize security in society should be more diverse. Shouldn't we also all know how the internet works? I mean, I'm not talking details, just generally. What happens if you type in google.com and you hit this return key? Just generally what happens. And then if we understand it, I think we will have better policies and we will not be so easily scared. I think we shouldn't be scared.